All right, time to get real. Well, what is real? What does it mean to say that something's real? What's reality? What's reality like? These are the kinds of questions we're going to start digging into. And the goal in this conversation is to come to some conclusions as individuals about what we think is reasonable to believe about the nature of reality and what it's like and how we determine what's real and what's fake. And the reason for doing this is we're going to have to make decisions from this point forward till the day we die. And the quality of those decisions is going to be directly correlated to the quality of our assessment of the situation that we find ourselves in when we're making those decisions. If we know what's real and what's fake, and we understand the situation that we're in, we're much more likely to make a good decision about what to do than if we don't know what's real and we don't know what's fake, and we don't really understand the situation that we're in and what's real and what isn't. That's a bad position to be in when you have to make a decision. So one way to think about this question of what's real is to think about claims we make about the world we live in. So if you're sitting in a chair right now and I asked you, is this statement true or false for you? And you look down and you think like, I can feel the chair. I'm sitting in it. This is clearly a true statement. This chair is real. And I say something to you like, well, how do you really know? And you'd say, well, look, I can pick it up with my hands and feel its weight. I can feel its texture with my skin on my hands. I can see it with my own eyes. I can rap on it with my knuckles and hear the sound it makes. I could lick it. Don't lick your chair. Maybe the chair has a particular smell to it. In other words, I can bring in all this information from my physical senses that tells me there's something there. Otherwise, I wouldn't be getting any information, any sense data from my physical senses, because my physical senses are working in response or working in harmony with or in response to things that are physical. So that's why I draw the conclusion that the chair is real. I draw that based on my physical experience of it. And that kind of thinking will probably get us a pretty good way through life about the material world and the physical objects in it. But there's other kinds of claims that we make that are going to be less obvious how to assess. So when I give you a claim like this, Jack is a good person, and we say, is that a true statement or a false statement? We're going to begin by saying, well, what does it mean to say that somebody's a good person? We're making a character assessment here. What's the criteria that we use? And there's two possible ways to think about this. One is, well, I just think about my personal preferences or maybe my cultural standard. And I think about the kinds of things I like in a person. And I associate the kinds of things I like in a person with this term good and goodness. But it all just comes from my noggin. It doesn't exist. My criteria doesn't exist outside of myself. I don't have like with the chair, I have a tape measure and I can make an assessment of the dimensions of the chair. But I don't have some similar kind of rubric or measuring stick that allows me to judge the goodness of a person's character. That's one way to think about it. The other way to think about it is, well, maybe goodness exists in some way as a part of objective reality, and it's not just in my head. It's not just a preference of myself or the group that I happen to live with. There is some objective feature of reality that is goodness. And if I knew how to access it, I might be able to apply that idea and all of its features to this person and make a statement that's objectively true. Jack is a good person is not just me saying I like Jack or approve of Jack. If there's an objective idea of goodness, what I'm really saying is I used that criteria that I've accessed as a way of assessing Jack's character. Similarly, Jack tells the truth. What does that mean? Does that mean just that Jack always tells me what he thinks and is straightforward about that? Or does that mean that Jack is somehow telling the truth, maybe like a capital T truth? Is there a truth that actually exists independently of our minds? Does truth exist as a real objective thing? Or what about if you hear a statement like this? It's wrong to kill puppies, or you pick the action that you think is wrong. What does that mean when you say it's wrong? Does that just mean like yuck? I don't like that? Or does that mean that there's some moral standard that exists as an objective part of reality? It doesn't exist like the chair does, right? It's not this morality that we're thinking about. It doesn't exist as a thing that comes to me through my physical senses. But maybe I have some other faculty that allows me to access this idea of morality as an objective feature of reality that I can then use to assess different kinds of actions. So this is the question on the table for us. Are ideas like justice, truth, beauty, morality, you pick your idea, are they real? Or are they just figments of our imaginations, things that we make up in our cultures or things we make up as individuals? I gave you a sentence in your thought primer and I asked you, is this sentence true or is it false? The sentence says this: if justice exists only as an idea in individual and collective imaginations and not as an objective part of reality, then all judgments of what is just or unjust or fair or unfair are merely opinions that reflect what people like rather than statements about what is actually right and wrong. So what do you think? Is this statement true or false? I'm going to throw down with true. Here's why. If justice really did only exist as an idea in our imaginations and not as a part of objective reality, then the most we can do is express our individual or collective ideas about something, but they're not based on anything outside of ourselves. If justice exists only as an idea in our imaginations, then it doesn't exist in objective reality. It just exists in our subjective experiences of reality. And if that's the case, then when I say that something is just or unjust, I'm essentially saying something equivalent to, I like vanilla ice cream more than chocolate ice cream. I'm not saying anything other than what my internal experience of something is. I'm not appealing to anything that exists as a part of objective reality. I'm simply reporting my subjective response to a situation that I assess to be a just one or an unjust one. So that's the first thing you want to start thinking about. What do you think? Is justice simply a figment of our imaginations, or is it real? So we're in this big question about the nature of reality. What exists and how does it exist? And we're going to keep exploring that. Here's a question for you. If ideas like justice and virtue aren't real, then on what basis can one claim that a statement about an idea is true or false or better than other statements about ideas? In other words, if justice is just, if you and I got in a conversation about whether or not chocolate ice cream or vanilla ice cream tasted better, that's a dumb conversation, because all we can do is report our internal idiosyncratic, highly subjective or totally subjective experiences of vanilla or chocolate ice cream. And we can never access each other's experiences. We're just kind of solipsistically locked into our own experience. And so if justice is like that, why would we ever have arguments about it? It would be as dumb as arguing about the flavors of ice cream. But if ideas do exist as real things, in some way a part of objective reality, where do they exist, or how do they exist, and how do we access them? So I'm faced with this choice right off the bat. If ideas are not anything more than just my own thinking or the thinking of my group, I don't have much to stand on when I say that something is true or false, or when I say that this idea about morality is better than that idea. And that's kind of a scary position to be in, because then that means that just truth is a function of power. And morality is just the code of those who have the ability to enforce their ideas. On the other hand, if I come forward and make this bold claim that ideas like beauty or truth or justice, that these actually exist as objective things in reality, I'm going to have an awful lot of people coming at me with their arms crossed in front of their chest saying, "Oh yeah, Mr. Smarty Pants, how do you know that? Show me." And that's going to be tough. But if ideas do exist, I want to, as real parts of objective reality, I want to be able to answer that question. And that's what we're going to start looking at, is what are some possible ways we could answer that question to those folks who are challenging us.